Hello, I'm Justin Wheeler, and welcome to this episode of Nonstop Nonprofit. Today, I have a very special episode of the Nonstop Nonprofit podcast, featuring our sales manager, Jenny Flack, and Dana Bakich, nonprofit social media coach and CEO of Positive Equation. Jenny and Dana recently talked about how to utilize all the features that a fundraising platform like Funraise offers. They brought a bunch of great ideas that you can use right now. Yes, during this insane coronavirus pandemic, and their conversation makes the benefits of nonprofit technology really obvious. A few teasers before I hand the mic over. Funraise saw over 100% increase in donation volume in April 2020. Jenny and Dana talk through some of the very surprising reasons behind that growth, with one of the biggest being all the features Funraise offers that make fundraising and donating so easy. Those features also bring in major wins for your nonprofit, and the key is data. Getting it, analyzing it, and then acting on it. Once you've listened to this, you'll probably want to hear more from Jenny. She's super knowledgeable and has tons more to say about nonprofit technology and how it can help your nonprofit organization. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, head on over to funraise.org and put a request in for a demo. And as a bonus, we've added some really cool examples of the concepts and strategies covered in Jenny and Dana's conversation so you can see all the awesomeness in action. Check them out at funraise.org/resources. Let's dive in.
The best thing that we can do is just raise as much money as possible and then give it to the people around the world.
We set out to raise $1,000 to help this person, but we had no idea how to fundraise.
Then you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
That is unacceptable, and that is not the way to run a board.
Who is this girl, and what's the thought process when you're like, do I include a nickel?
And it snowballs like any peer-to-peer campaign. The more people that view this content, the further and further it grows.
The community raised $55 million in 2019.
The more nonprofits can give their donor base that experience of the impact that's being made on the ground level, there's nothing else you have to give someone. This is Nonstop Nonprofit.
Good morning. Good morning. We are now live. Happy Wednesday. I'm just checking my feed to make sure you can hear me. So glad you guys are here. Thank you for joining. This is the second Facebook Live interview series that I'm doing. And today I'm so excited to bring on Jenny Flack from Funraise to talk to us about what she's seeing at Funraise in terms of who's giving, how are they giving, what campaigns are working. We're just coming off the heels of Giving Tuesday now on Cinco de Mayo. So hopefully you're with us and didn't have too many margaritas or beers to cheers to your hopefully really successful campaign yesterday. Or if you didn't participate, we also want to talk about why and what makes sense for your organization. So I'm so excited that you guys are here. This is for you. Please feel free in the comments to drop any questions as we go, and we'll pop in and answer them for you. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on Jenny to kind of kick off our conversation.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you this morning?
Good. I am so glad that you are here with us. Hey, Chris.
Hi,
I
Chris.
love it. Yes. Everybody who's watching, if you can let us know what organization you work for, where you're tuning in from. I'm in sunny Los Angeles. And Jenny, where are you?
Yeah, I'm in LA as well.
Yes. It's gotten really hot the past couple of days.
Yeah, it's nice though. It's supposed to kill the virus. So we're like, bring on the sunshine, you know?
That's true. That's very true. That's awesome. Well, Jenny and I connected, a few months ago.
Yeah.
When I was doing some research on different CRM donor platforms for campaigns, for virtual fundraising, before this whole COVID thing was even in our minds or a possibility. And I just fell in love with you, and you were so knowledgeable about the platform and just overall donors and giving far beyond just the platform itself, and just kind of understanding where nonprofits are at with your years of being at Funraise. So tell us a little bit about you and your role.
Yeah, sure. So Funraise is very simple. We're nonprofit tech, right? So basically the company was built on the belief that nonprofits, right? The entities that are doing the most good in the world should have the best technology to do it, right? And so historically what we've seen is, is very easy for nonprofits to be a decade behind, when it comes to technology and really just the tools, right? That's what it comes down to, that are empowering smart strategies to engage donors to serve your mission. So, you mentioned kind of the expertise outside of just technology and tools that comes because we were founded by a team of nonprofit fundraisers. So we like to say we're built by fundraisers for fundraisers, and that's something unique about us. So, yeah, my role there is what was that?
Really important.
Yeah, and the biggest compliment we get, honestly, when we, show the platform is the aha moment. Inevitably, when somebody's like, oh, "You get me, you understand," or like that. That's the biggest compliment. So, that's kind of the background of Funraise, and my role there is I work with new organizations, that are looking at their current tech stack or strategies, maybe looking to do new things, and then bringing them on board to be part of our little family.
I love it. Well, yesterday was a big day for nonprofits all around the world, Giving Tuesday now. Yeah. What did you guys see at Funraise? And also maybe expand it to what have you seen really over the course of the past 2 months?
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. We're down in the deep end. I think really to me yesterday, which if you don't know was Giving Tuesday now. So the kind of Giving Tuesday campaign and entity normally does campaigns usually in November, right after Thanksgiving. But, with current circumstances being what they are, kind of rolled out, hey, we're going to do another one this year. And that was yesterday. So to me, what we saw yesterday was really just a distillation of what we've seen over the last couple months when it comes to, fundraising strategies. It's no secret that a lot of organizations have really had to pivot and look at, adapting their strategies. And in many cases, the tools, again, that they're using, like I use those always together, right? Because the tools just enable the strategies. But at the same time, strategies can be built off of the tools that you have. So anyway, what we saw yesterday was massive activity, right? A lot of huge increase in donations across, our customer base. But the reason I tie that to the last couple of months is because what we've seen over the last couple of months has, I think, been really surprising to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. As you can imagine, most, of our conversations are about, what do I do now? Or how do I adapt? We were supposed to have this gala, it brings in $1 million. That's going to impact our mission and even, our sustainability. Yeah. So what do we do to make sure that we're, bridging the gap? A lot of the conversations I've been having, basically since COVID, people fall in different camps in terms of how they respond, right? So some folks, I feel like it's kind of just like a litmus test, or almost a Rorschach test, I should say, for kind of how you see what's happening. So some folks are really kind of stuck, right? Like, what do we do? Do we just wait and see what's going to happen? Other folks are like, we have work to do. Let's figure it out. How are we adjusting our ask?
Yeah.
So what we've seen has been surprising, I think, even to us, which has been an overall increase in giving. I think that's been surprising also to a lot of people that I've talked to over the past couple of months. And we've seen this in March and again in April. Yeah. Now we can dig into kind of some of the specifics there about the asks, but overall, what we're seeing is there is capacity to give, right? So even though times feel so weird right now and unemployment is super high, people are being impacted economically. Mm-hmm. But if you consider 85% of, the nation right now is still employed, right? And among those who are still employed, there's an increased, desire, I would say, among a lot of them to do something.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're seeing different segments emerge of nonprofits and how they're responding. Fundamentally, those who are asking and who are tailoring their ask to these unique times are seeing donations come in, right? And we're seeing that overall.
And I just want to like tie back, 'cause I think it was so important what you just said,
Sure.
where everyone right now is living the same world. So
very unique.
It's a very unique situation. And I think that's so crucial for nonprofits to understand is there's a lot of sensitivities around asking. But like you said, people we're at home. We're not running around doing as many things. So you have kind of a concentrated time to reach people. And they're in a place where they know people are hurting more than usual.
That's right.
And if you are in a place to give, will give.
Yeah. I mean, I can say anecdotally, my husband and I, our giving has increased, over the last couple of months, and particularly to organizations we may never have given to before. Because think about normally activism involves getting out of your house, going out of your door and doing something. And right now activism looks like sitting on your couch. But that also means are you as a nonprofit giving people like me or, and my husband and all of us who want to do something, the tools actually to do that.
Right.
Virtually. Right.
Absolutely.
So giving them tools to fundraise on your behalf, not just donate, but, get other people to donate to sustain the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Those that are absolutely seeing the impact. And again, giving overall has increased, and that's those dollars and that revenue is going to people who are making an appropriate ask.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a great segue. I want to talk about, so specifically over the weekend, for those of you who have followed me on social media, I signed up a couple weeks ago for Dressember's virtual 5K. So Dressember is, ran my 3.1 miles. We actually ran 3.2 miles. Get the extra. And Dressember is actually who introduced me to Jenny. And Dressember is an amazing organization for those of you not familiar. They're headquartered in Los Angeles, but they work all over the country and internationally to try and end human trafficking and support survivors of human trafficking. And Blythe Hill is a good friend of mine, the founder. And so I signed up to run this virtual 5K and had to go through creating an advocate page through the Funraise platform that they use. And actually, while we're talking about it, I'll pull it up because literally what you just said, if you have to make it easy to donate, you have to make it easy to give. And so what I did, and while I pull this up, so this is my advocate page. And my goal was
Good job.
Thanks.
You totally passed your goal.
Okay. And this is why. So one, do they have it down here? Okay. This to me is so crucial. So
it's brilliant.
December is brilliant in that they literally outline for X amount of dollars, it equals X impact. I call this a single issue ask. So you could tell by each dollar amount what it will provide. So for my goal, I chose the $320. So $320 directly equals 8 hours of therapy for one individual, a survivor that was trafficked. So I was like, that to me sounds like a great goal.
Yeah.
So I set that as my goal.
I just want to comment there real quick. Your situation is like a lot of people, especially if they're doing this for the first time and you have them sign up, hey, do peer-to-peer. They're ready and they're eager to help you. But if, giving them some cues as to what should my goal be, it's like these very practical things to kind of lay the groundwork. So it's not just about the technology being easy. Hey, I can sign up. There's my profile picture, that kind of thing. That's important, but also empowering, your donors, your supporters, your fundraisers to understand the impact that they can have and to tie that in. So
absolutely. And then, so after I set up my page, one of the first things that Funraise does is it prompted me to create a Facebook fundraiser. And for those of you that have not created it, what it does is it seamlessly takes an image. So I didn't have to put this image in here. It automatically moved over. I edited my title to be really specific again about my ask. It pulled in everything that I had drafted. This about matches this about, and I could go in again and edit it if I wanted to, but it tells my personal story of why the cause is so important to me. And then what I did for mine on Facebook right before actually we were doing our walk warm up, I went live on Facebook, and Facebook allows you to share your fundraiser with your live.
Right.
While you're live, there's an area at the bottom that literally is a call to action to donate. So as I was walking, and I maybe went live for 5 minutes, like right as we walked to start our run, I explained what I was doing, what I was fundraising for, that I wanted 32 people to give $10. I wasn't asking for $100. I wasn't asking for $1,000, $10.
Awesome.
And in that 5 minutes, I raised over $150.
Wonderful.
So I went live then I did my run. Then I went live on our walk after, on our cool down.
You didn't let everybody see you sweating during?
Yeah, no. I needed to be able to breathe.
Gotta focus. I get it.
And then afterwards, so you can see what was happening here, is you see all these Facebook donor. So I had 19 donors and ended up exceeding my goal. So afterwards, same thing. I went live. I'm sweating. I'm like, you guys, I just finished my run. Same thing. Donate below. And then I shared it to my Instagram stories. And this was all within a course. My run took me 30 minutes. And then afterwards, I shared it to my Instagram stories. And somebody was like, how much more do you need to reach your goal?
Awesome.
In DMs. And I was like, $30. And she's like, I got you. Done.
Oh, so cool. Yeah.
And that was it. And so within literally 2 hours or less, my goal was, I surpassed my goal.
Yeah.
And I think one cool thing, so the feature of a Facebook integration is so crucial. So crucial, because the other cool thing is so if I scroll, then I did a thank you video and posted it. But as people were donating in here, you can see I'm replying.
Yeah.
And saying thank you. And then for the people who donated while I was live, it shows you, it's like, ching, like somebody donated to you.
And then
I'm
you
like,
run faster.
Yeah. And then I'm like, hey, you can I'm talking right to them. I'm like, Jane, thank you so much. Sarah, that's awesome. So I'm having this live interaction. And they were I got messages afterwards, like, this was so cool. So it was awesome to have that it's not in person, but kind of like you feel like you're actually in a conversation with somebody. So that was the one part. The second thing I really like, and I'd love you to kind of talk through the psychology of this, is, you guys, do you see that there's no long donate form on here? There's no like, let me scroll. You click donate. Okay, tell me all about this button, because I'm like obsessed with this form.
Yeah. So the first thing you'll notice here, like you said, it's not what we call a vertical form, right? Where you're scrolling. That just creates a barrier for donors. If you're like me, you're just like, too much, forget it,
Yeah.
The quick pop-up, your profile picture is brought in here. So it really personalizes that donation, right? Like, even if I don't know what Dressember is, I feel like, okay, I'm giving to Dana on behalf of Dana. And then as you click that amount, you've already exceeded your goal. So you won't actually see the bar change here. But if you were, say, at 50% of your goal, somebody clicks one of those amounts, it's actually in real time going to fill. It still will show the number. So like click on 150.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can see actually how your gift is going to impact that person's goal, right? So, maybe you were going to give 50, but you're like, let's make it a nice round, like 75%. I can give, a little more. And then this is what we call a horizontal form. So, once you've kind of filled out this section, you go on and customize your donation using the button there at the bottom. So it's moving you through horizontally. So you're not kind of overwhelmed with the information you have to put in. I will also note, a few things too, making this really seamless and easy. Apple Pay, right? Yeah. So if you were on like a Safari browser or your iPhone, it would actually default to Apple Pay. Best, easiest way to give online, literally a click. I love that. And then here, Dressember has actually configured and customized these fields here. So, our users can remove these, they can add them in. The two I highly recommend are the 3%, right? So can you as the donor cover, the credit card fees? And you can change that. We actually see the sweet spot is between about 5 and 7% there. Because the people who are opting in at 3, by and large, are opting in at like 5 to 7 as well. If you go as high as 10%, you start to see a drop off. But
when you see your amount, it's $4. Like I would be like, yeah, if I'm going to give 150, I'll give 154.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, but that's real revenue, right? For Dressember, who's raising millions of dollars every campaign, even 1% of 1 million, that's $10,000, right? So multiply that by multiple millions and multiple percent, you can see where that's like tens of thousands of dollars in their case.
Yeah.
And then this company match too, I like to point out, because this is just like the easiest way to double your impact. If your company has a match policy, you simply search, see if they do. If they do, the name will pop up, and then you just submit your donation. You don't have to do anything else. And then the organization also doesn't have to do anything else. It pings basically the company. It says, hey, Dana just donated this much per your policy, and then kind of activates the process of getting that match. So very easy way to significantly increase revenue.
Yeah. And then it just continues to go. Well, I'm not doing a company.
You can uncheck that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you just go over and add in your info.
Exactly.
Oh, the other thing I really liked about this is for the billing address.
Yeah.
It's not like address, city, state, zip. It literally, if I start to type in an address, it'll start to populate.
So we call this autocomplete. This is, the same thing if you're calling an Uber or Lyft. You kind of start to type in the numbers, and it's like kind of narrows down, hey, here's what you're talking about. The advantage of this for the donor is, like you said, it's just super easy. But I would say even more significantly, the advantage for the organization is the data, right? Cleanliness of data. So you don't have 4 different ways that people are writing California. And then, you have duplicates and things based on that. So it's really just streamlining that.
Yeah. I love this.
Yeah. So that's the form. And then to dig a little bit more too into the advantages of Facebook integration.
Mm-hmm.
Like you showed here, through the integration, basically your campaign page is mirrored, as a fundraiser.
Yep.
On the organization side, though, there's again, the way the tools are built here, it's by fundraisers for fundraisers. So it's got the donor in mind, making it as easy and seamless as possible. It's also got the organization in mind, of course, right? So the significant thing here is the data. Right now, if you don't have a Facebook integration or anything like that, people can give to you through Facebook. Like they can just go rogue and create a Facebook fundraiser, which is awesome. If you are on typically the finance team at an organization, you're like good and bad, because the data is so limited that you get. So people cannot tell. They get a name. That's usually it. So and an amount. So they cannot tell who did this person give on behalf of. Like how do I contact them just to thank them?
Yeah.
Like nothing else. Like those things become impossible. So long term, it's great for revenue for one-time giving, but what you're really missing is data that allows you to strategically engage that donor and have a relationship with them and provide them further opportunities to have impact, as a donor or a supporter in other ways.
Yeah.
Through our Facebook integration, you get more of that data, right? So not only can you see, of course, like who somebody gave on behalf of, that fundraiser actually can see that data too. And then, because it's like on their page. But then also, you're getting more information like physical address, right? So if you want to be able to follow up, also if people want to provide their email, they can opt into that. And we have early access to Facebook's API so that we can actually provide more of that data. So it makes a huge difference outside of just that one gift, really to be able to nurture that donor. That's, I would say, like the bigger significance really of Facebook outside of just like a one-time experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've been talking a lot about, in this case, obviously they're comfortable in going forward with a virtual event and asking. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of organizations that are unsure about making an ask or how to make an ask or what to ask for, especially if they're not an organization that's technically on the front lines and a cause that is a necessity kind of need. Yeah. What are you seeing with that as far as organizations who are, or what would you say really to an organization that's teetering on or unsure if now is an okay time to make an ask?
Yeah, it's a great question. Bottom line, ask, because like your mission depends on it, right? Like how long can you survive, much less like provide your programming if you don't? Like that's kind of the first question. Then it becomes a matter of how. Like, so don't get me wrong, like there are wrong ways to ask right now, right? Our friends over at Next After, they're a fundraising research lab and do consulting and things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so they did like COVID related research, just saying like what are organizations doing right now and how are donors responding? What they found is if you are an organization that is directly, it doesn't even have to be front lines, but maybe like second line, like directly impacted or dealing with, COVID related things, mentioning COVID increased overall donations. This is like March and April, basically like since this thing started. If you are in no way related and you're making an ask that you would be making otherwise, so for example, like a membership drive or something that's like basically unrelated, mentioning COVID actually had a negative impact on donations. The way they said it was like they really saw it was kind of like stuffing relevance into the communications, right? But they saw, so they kind of had these three buckets, right? One where it's like natural, like you naturally are related in some way. Talk about that. That's we saw an increase there. Then we saw like kind of the unnatural ask cause a decrease. And then there's kind of a neutral bucket where it's like, maybe it's not that related, but you're just saying, hey, now more than ever, or, in these times, like just kind of a vague reference, maybe mentioning it, but not trying to be like, really specifically talk about COVID if it's not related. And that we like, basically there was no change one way or the other.
Yeah.
So again, the mega trend here that I would want to communicate more than anything else is people are giving. People are giving more actually than this time last year, than previous months before, March and April. But they are, but one, like, make sure your ask is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, again, I'm going to say it comes back to your tools. So Dressember is a great example. Like the 5K that they had was supposed to be an in-person 5K.
Yeah.
But they pivoted and said, you know what, we're still doing this. It's a virtual 5K, rather than saying, like, if you remember in school, like getting a 0 on a test was like way worse than even getting an F, but 50%, right? To like your overall grade.
Yeah.
Like, that parallel exists here. Like maybe you take a hit, right? Like maybe, I don't know necessarily in their case, but like what their goal might have been versus what they did. I don't know if it was higher, lower, or the same. Even if you take a hit though, like maybe you take a 20% hit, even a 50% hit allows you to do a lot more than just canceling or just waiting.
And what's interesting too with a lot of events that I've been talking to nonprofits about is anybody who had a golf tournament or a gala, or even if it is a 5K, there are event costs that you are no longer paying for.
Yes.
So there was one organization where because they didn't have to pay for their event costs, their fundraising amount was lower.
Yes.
Or I think it may have been a little bit lower at par, but it was 418% increase net because they didn't have any of those event costs besides just kind of staff and a few tech things.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. It's so true. Events are notoriously just very expensive to put on. So to your point, like the net fundraised dollars impacts that significantly. It might be 50%.
Yeah, the goal doesn't have to be as high anymore because you're not spending X dollar on the actual execution of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, like there's appetite among donors and supporters right now. Like they get it. We're all in this situation. It's not unique to you as an organization.
Right.
It's not something you have to explain to anybody. People understand exactly why you're adapting and are ready to do that. So we've had a lot of, organizations that were supposed to have galas or runs or golf tournaments, and they're translating those into peer-to-peer events. They're focusing on recurring giving, basically going digital. And you're exactly right. That's really, I think we're going to see actually a permanent impact in kind of the fundraising mix because of this, because of exactly what you said, the efficiency of the fundraising efforts. We'll see those again and all that, but like I think these layers, maybe things people always kind of thought they should be doing or sort of knew, they've kind of been forced to do it and been like, oh, this is really efficient,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Agreed. Well, I want to, you shared some examples with me before the call, and I think it's important. I'm a visual learner.
Yep.
So I would love to, I'm going to pull these up.
Yeah.
Is
So
the one you want me to start with first?
You can start with any. I'll roll with it.
Okay, cool. We're going with the hard hat and black tie gala.
Yeah, perfect. So these are just a few examples. We're talking big picture about, hey, fundraising is still happening. You still should ask, just tailor that ask. So I just wanted to provide a few examples of folks that are doing that really well. So this Habitat for Humanity is another example. They were supposed to have a gala last week, actually, and they're pivoting that into a peer-to-peer fundraiser, right? So if you scroll down, I think they have, a section. This is, by the way, using one of our campaign sites. So we have a number of different templates. You don't have to be, a website designer. The whole idea here is anybody can spin up a really great looking microsite for an event, peer-to-peer campaign, whatever. And that's how this was built. So you can see they're highlighting, hey, here's the impact. And then those different tabs are feeds. So they've activated the recent donor and the top donor feed. So you can kind of see what the activity is like.
Yep.
And then, this peer-to-peer campaign layout would mirror what you already saw in December because it's actually using the same template. But you can see how each one has really tailored it and branded it. So the whole point here is it looks and feels proprietary as if you built the website yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
So they're a great example. I also wanted to highlight Green Dot. The reason I wanted to highlight them is this is a great example of like I said, not necessarily front lines, meaning like medical or, providing food, but like education is right there, as we all know. They have done a great job with this Topman Center, just saying, here is what we're raising for, right? Their ask is very specific. Here's the dollar amount and here's why. And then actually, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see they're using what we call our impact tracking. So they're just below the progress bar. You see over 1,000 students equipped with devices, right? So when they built the site, they just enter a cost per project. So you can, what does $200,000 mean to us?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of arbitrary, but if we can see, hey, listen, we've so far equipped 1,000 students, let's keep going, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I really, really, really like that.
Yeah. And then also, if you scroll up and click on their fundraisers tab, top right.
This one?
Yep. One thing I wanted to point out here is all different ages and demographics can participate. It is really very user-friendly, right? To create, like you did, Dana, create your page, get that up and running. That's an objection we get a lot. Okay, so millennials will get it, but like we have an older donor base. But you can see, way to go, Brad. Like I would say he's probably not a millennial. Yeah. And look at him. He's like their second top fundraiser.
He's a millennial at heart.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just do want to point out like the way these tools are built. It's like that the boomer demographic actually is the most active on Facebook. And if you can use Facebook, you can create a peer-to-peer page.
Yeah. And I love the teams too.
Yep. Yeah. So they're doing a great job too.
That's awesome.
The next one is just an example of like a really direct, more directly related ask. Again, using our templates, but they've branded this really to their organization, their ask, just really seeing a lot of traction there. So they're doing a great job. Also contextualizing, putting the about, so people really kind of understand whether they came because they're already a supporter of yours, or maybe this link was shared with them, or, they got communications from you. It's really helping provide the context for the goal that you've set.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last two are just a couple examples of for Giving Tuesday Now, which was yesterday. So really easy to, even for a single giving day, spin up a giving page or a campaign site, whichever. And, they Innocence Project is awesome. But, just a very simple ask here and just saying, hey, be part of our work. Here's where you give. And then you have that same form that we walked through before.
Yep. Super simple.
Yeah. And then the last one, just another example of a Giving Tuesday Now campaign, in this case, a peer-to-peer campaign, right? So you can have just like a giving page or a peer-to-peer like micro site. Lots of different templates that you can choose from, but the point being it's as easy as it can be to make it look good and be easy for your donors, but also, to really convey your ask and how that's contributing.
I love it. And actually, one thing that we didn't have pulled up here before, but I want to see if we can pull it up. Do you have handy the video pages? And probably find it back in my email. So what I'm talking about right now, while Jenny looks for that, is so a lot of you are now doing a live event where you're actually streaming something. You're doing a mini production. Whether it's something small and everybody's remote, or a select number of people that are kind of like socially distanced are getting together. And what I really love is that Funraise has built a page where you can literally embed your video, and then you can integrate all these different features on your page so that it's a completely branded experience. And it kind of serves as a home base. So if somebody maybe they're not on Facebook, and maybe they're not comfortable with utilizing social media, having just a website, a URL that they can go to that shares that experience there was great. That's also branded. I know you had sent it to me.
Yeah, I just sent it to you actually in our chat.
Got it.
So as you're pulling that up, basically what this is, it's actually using, you'll kind of recognize the layout here because it's using one of our templates. The beauty of this is you can just pull in a live stream, right? So this is just an example of what that might look like. Again, this is our template. So you see there at the top, it's really generic. It's just like event name and donate, all this stuff you would customize to be your own. And then this, of course, would be your stream. So you can pull in, whether it's you're using YouTube or Facebook Live, like you and I are now.
Yep.
However you're hosting your event, pretty much, like you'll be able to pull that in and host that. But the important thing here is, you can, like, as you did with your run last weekend, anybody can go live at any time. What this does is makes that like actionable, right? So it puts it in a context where you can monetize it. And, as you're, making your ask or whatever the case may be, you're just point down, there's the give button, make your donation.
Yes.
And it gives you the almost like a stage, right? To make that actionable.
Yeah. And I think what I love about it is you get your recent donors, your top donors. Some people love seeing their names.
Yeah.
Right. So it gives you that opportunity. And then you can have somebody if they're producing it, they can say, wow, check out this latest donation from, and it keeps you kind of engaged and in real time, but it still gives you a branded experience. If somebody wants to learn more about you, you don't really get that necessarily on a live, scroll down, but still be like actively engaged with this page.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then I should mention too, this is a pretty simple example, which, to be frank, like most organizations probably would just need this kind of simple version right now, particularly if they've never done a live event, like a live stream event before. But, for anybody who's working with gamers, like doing a Twitch, we have like a Twitch integration, right? So if somebody's fundraising for you by, gaming, we can integrate that. We also integrate with Streamlabs. So, if you're doing kind of a more sophisticated, like, having pop-ups, when donations come in, you mentioned people love seeing their name. That's the whole name of the game when it comes to people who are really like streaming and seeing like their comment and their name pop up actually up there on the screen with little widgets. We can activate that with the campaign sites as well, if that's something people are doing.
I love it. I mean, everything that I've seen, and even like you said, and I've been donating, is people are open to giving. I think it's just being very specific about the ask and what the impact is going to be. Exactly. And I think if you're an organization that has multiple programs, start with one. Start with a priority ask. Get that one down and then move on to the next one would be my advice. And then to not be afraid to innovate. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people are intimidated by digital or social, or there's a risk factor. And And I always say, I don't know what you guys have seen on your side, but I just say, ask your key stakeholders, ask your sponsors what matters to them more than ever. Now they probably have the time to talk to you more intimately and have a longer conversation. But yeah, anything that I haven't asked you about that you think is important that they should understand, or anything that I might be missing from the platform that we should discuss?
Not really. I mean, we dipped our toe in the water as far as the platform goes. So there's certainly a lot more there, but I think, the biggest things I would underscore, which we've already talked about, are make the ask, make sure it's, an appropriate ask. And I'm available if anybody, watching this wants to do an audit of, your tools, your strategies, your ask right now, just email me. I'm Jenny@funraise.org. Jenny@funraise.org. So I and my team are happy to just kind of do that audit, like look at what your setup is and if there are places you could be maximizing that. So that's the biggest thing. First, like ask. People are responding to the ask. And I think that in the conversations I've had over the last couple of months has been the biggest thing. Just like the reassurance that it's not tone deaf, it's not inappropriate. It's like people get it. And there's a lot of people who still have capacity right now. And with that, like the people who are seeing giving increase are those who are adapting, right? So it is taking things digital. It is like, again, replacing if you had an in-person event, like, maybe delay it, but also in the meantime, could you also do a peer-to-peer or other, virtual fundraising campaign? Just because you're postponing doesn't mean you can't do both.
Absolutely. And I think what's so great about peer-to-peer, and I just experienced this with the 5K, is yes, people want to support a good organization, but more than that, they want to back me.
Yes. Yep.
And that's what makes peer-to-peer such a great opportunity to expand awareness. That's been happening too, that I've seen, is people say somebody said we had over 200 new donors because we did something virtual, and it expanded the people. Like now, the 19 people who gave to my small campaign now know about Dressember, where before they might have had no idea that it existed.
Right. And I'll again say that's where the data comes into, right? So Dressember actually then can follow up if they want and say like, hey, listen, you gave one time. Thank you so much. Here's the impact your gift had. And, eventually, like once there's been some nurture there, won't you consider expanding that impact by becoming a monthly donor? Right. And now the lifetime value of that donor in terms of revenue and impact for Dressember has increased, at least, 10 to 20 fold. Depending on how long that goes. So it's certainly a huge opportunity. And that's why I say, I think a lot of folks who are kind of dipping their toe in the water now by necessity will find that, these are really core strategies actually, and really mission critical strategies.
Well, Jenny, this has been such a valuable conversation, and everyone please her up on this audit opportunity. Jenny, thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. We hope you found Jenny and Dana's conversation and ideas inspiring and useful for your organization. If you'd like to talk strategy with Jenny, head on over to funraise.org and request a demo and strategy session on the calendar. I guarantee she will be thrilled to hear from you. And don't forget, take a look at the examples we've included to really bring to life and show off the concepts you just heard about. You can find this at funraise.org/resources. This podcast is brought to you by your friends at Funraise, nonprofit fundraising software built by nonprofit people. Don't forget to get your next episode the second it hits the internets. Go to nonstopnonprofitpodcast.com and sign up for email notifications today. See you next time.